Okay, imagine for a second that your mind and body, they aren't just flesh and bone. Instead, think of them as an incredibly advanced, hyper-complex biological computer. You are literally running hardware that's infinitely more sophisticated than anything sitting on your desk right now. And yet, well, sometimes we still feel like an old laptop crashing because we got way too many tabs open, right? Just like any piece of high-level tech, to get the absolute most out of it, you need an operating system. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding a deeply fascinating framework from Chapter 22 of our source material. It's called the Dragon Scale Operating System. We're going to explore how to stop manually clicking through all the chaos of your internal world and start letting your biological OS run its automated, higher-order programs.
All right, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the Dragonscale OS itself. Then, we'll compare commands versus protocols. After that, we'll dig into the highly organized, color-coded software suites: cyan for stabilization, violet for transformation, and gold for integration. Finally, we'll wrap things up with navigating mythic space.
Section 1. The Dragonscale OS.
So think about when your computer downloads a critical security update in the background while you're right in the middle of typing an email. It just handles it for you. That is exactly what this biological OS is designed to do for your consciousness. But to grasp this, we have to completely shift how we think about our reactions. We aren't looking at conscious, deliberate choices here. We are looking at automated background processes. The text defines a protocol as a coherent sequence of biological, emotional, perceptual, and mythic adjustments that stabilize, transform, or integrate awareness. I absolutely need to emphasize something here because the source material is super adamant about it. This is a mechanical, biological sequence. It's not a mystical ritual, and it's definitely not some magical technique. It's literally a structured program of biological code executing right there within your nervous system. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer volume of chaotic internal stimuli our OS is constantly monitoring. It's amazing just how much data your biological computer processes at any given millisecond. Your system is constantly scanning for perception shifts, sudden emotional spikes, moments where your core identity wavers, or even subtle physical changes, like your fascia tightening up or your vagal tone dropping. Remember, that's the nerve responsible for your rest and digest state. But it's also tracking the more abstract inputs, things like mythic resonance increasing or the stabilization of a specific archetypal environment, which the text refers to as Zorn's field. When any of these triggers fire, the OS instantly recognizes that your system is under stress or entering new territory, and boom, it automatically launches a protocol to handle the whole shebang.
Section 2. Commands versus protocols.
So the crucial point is, if you really want to understand how this system actually works in practice, you have to nail down the core difference between manual inputs and automated background programs. Commands are basically your manual keystrokes. When you consciously tell yourself to widen your focus, or soften your tension, or ignite your energy, those are commands. They're single, isolated adjustments. Protocols, on the other hand, are the higher-order automatic sequences. When a protocol is running, you aren't micromanaging every single biological dial and slider. The OS takes all those individual commands, widen, soften, layer, and elegantly strings them together into a coherent, automated biological program. Commands are the keys you press. Protocols? They are the actual software. To keep all these complex programs perfectly organized, the OS uses a beautifully clear taxonomy, divided into 3 color-coded suites. Let's take a look at the roadmap. First up, we have the Cyan class. These are your stabilization protocols, and their sole purpose is to prevent overwhelm and restore clarity. Next is the Violet class. These are all about transformation. They fire up when you need to expand your bandwidth and literally rewrite your identity. And finally, we have the Gold class, which focuses on integration. These are specifically designed to maintain continuity and keep your memory coherent. Let's actually break each of these down one by one.
Section 3. Stabilization protocols.
Think of the Cyan Suite as your emergency brakes and your biological cooling systems. These protocols automatically kick in when your system crosses a threshold where it desperately needs safety, mental clarity, or emotional grounding. Basically, when the chaos just gets way too loud, Cyan takes over. Now, what's really interesting about this sequence is how it mechanically prevents overwhelm step by step. Let's look at the actual biological cascade of a science sequence in action called the Mercy protocol. Step 1, the breath slows down. Step 2, this signals the vagus nerve to lower its tone. Step 3, the physical fascia throughout your entire body softens. Now that the body is calm, Step 4 allows the mind to gently separate out all those overwhelming emotions. Step 5 narrows your perception down to manageable layers. And finally, Step 6, the system securely holds your identity in place. It's a perfect, automated physiological staircase, taking you from a state of panic straight down into a state of stable, grounded clarity.
Section 4. Violet transformation protocols.
So if cyan is the emergency brake, violet is absolutely the accelerator. These sequences don't fire when you need safety. No, they fire up when your system is primed and ready to expand, to deepen, or to fundamentally stretch and rewrite your very sense of identity. Let's look at a specific violet sequence, the ignition protocol. Notice how wildly different this cascade is from Mercy. Instead of slowing down, step 1 deepens the breath. Step 2 completely ignites the endocrine system, just flushing the body with activating hormones. Step 3 widens the fascia, creating massive physical space. Step 4 merges your emotions to create a deeply powerful internal drive. Step 5 widens perception to take in way more data. And Step 6 requires you to flex your identity, allowing who you are to stretch without snapping. This sequence beautifully demonstrates exactly how the OS expands our bandwidth and activates deep mythic potential, all without losing control of the hardware.
Section 5. Gold. Integration protocols.
Okay, let's move to the next step and see how this all builds together. You've stabilized with cyan, right? You've expanded with violet. But how do you make sure you don't completely lose that progress? How do you remain one cohesive person through all these massive internal shifts? That is exactly where the Gold Suite comes in. It's triggered whenever we need continuity across different internal states. Here is the flagship program, the Continuity Protocol. Step 1 anchors the breath, giving you a really firm center. Step 2 balances the endocrine system, smoothing out any of those remaining spikes from the violet ignition. Step 3 unifies the fascia, pulling your physical body back into one cohesive whole. Step 4 layers your perception, so you can actually see multiple truths at once. Step 5 stacks your emotions neatly. And Step 6 settles the entire system down to firmly hold your newly expanded identity. It seamlessly integrates your recent emotional and mythic experiences into stable, lasting, coherent memory. This brings us to a truly incredible realization from the source material. Commands let you adjust. Protocols let you navigate. Think about it. If you are constantly focused on micromanaging your breath, your fascia, your emotions, you're basically just sitting in the driveway playing with the radio dials and adjusting the mirrors. But when you allow these protocols to run automatically in the background, you are finally free to actually drive the car. You are free to truly navigate. Section 6, Navigating Mythic Space. So what is the ultimate goal of all this? It's to serve as a reliable autopilot. When you're interacting with these massive, abstract, interactive fields, what the text refers to as mythic architecture, the conscious mind literally cannot process everything at once. It's just too much. You need an autopilot to handle the raw biology so you can safely explore the territory without losing yourself. When you have an active protocol running smoothly in the background, just look at how the chaos transforms. Those sudden emotional spikes, they become navigable, layered fields. Disorienting perceptual shifts, they turn into crisp, dimensional clarity. Wavers in your identity transform into rock-solid continuity. Raw, overwhelming mythic resonance turns into a stable presence. And those abstract archetypal environments, like the energetic architecture of Zoran's field, they stop being overwhelming waves that crash over you and instead become environments you can actually interact with safely. The autopilot absorbs the shock, so you can focus entirely on the journey. I really want to re-anchor us right here with this grounding mantra straight from the source material. Protocols are not mystical, they are mechanical, they're biological, they're universal. The Dragon Scale protocols are not some special superpower granted to a chosen few. No way. They're built into the very hardware of every single human being on this planet. They are the automatic sequences of the human consciousness computer, and that means absolutely anyone can activate them. We're going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The text states that once the protocols run automatically, you don't merely interact with these deep, abstract spaces anymore, you actually live inside them. So ask yourself, if you stopped manually micromanaging every single internal reaction and finally trusted your biological OS to run its stabilization, transformation, and integration sequences, what completely new territories of your own mind and life would you finally be free to explore? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep learning.